Hello, I just got the new servos, so now I'm gonna install the two servos in this servo module. And these new servos can take up to 8.4 volt, so I can use this 2S lipo battery directly with these servos without any volt regulator. I'm also gonna change to this new Spektrum SR215 receiver, and I can set up failsafe with that. And also I'm gonna use my Spektrum DX5C transmitter. Sorry, I have all my cars on the same transmitter. Yes, so I come back later when I install the servos. It's easy to change when you can take out this complete module, and you can even test the electronics in this. There is no electronics in the car now, everything is here. So I can test it here. That's very good and easy. I had to remove about 1 millimeter from that edge there to get the new servo in. It was a very tight fit there, but now it slides in. Yeah, again, to fit the servo in, I have to remove about 1 millimeter from this mid section here. You can see this. I'm just using my Dremel tool, so it just takes 1 minute. Well, a new problem. The space between these two screws are so narrow that the servo will not fit exactly between them. So I have to shave a bit of both of these two screws to get the servo flat with this. So this is bad design. Here HoBao should have done something a bit different. Got a bit more space between these two screws. Maybe the two screws should be also a bit farther away from the servo hole here. One thing that is nice about the Spektrum SR215 and also the 315 receivers, they got a very short antenna, as you can see here. So I believe this can be under the body, no need to use the hole in the body for the antenna to stick up. But the receiver and transmitter are very good range and performance, low latency. I don't remember exactly, I believe is it 11 milliseconds or something. Good enough for all kind of bashing. And I just mounted the SR215 up there, and I've now got both the servos in. I had to, as you can maybe see, I had to cut off some of the screws to get the servo to fit between the two screws. So now I'm gonna finish installing the electronics, and then I'm gonna test it and bind it to the transmitter. Yes, now we have connection here. I've just dropped in the SR215 Spektrum receiver here, and just binded it to my Spektrum DX5C. And I'm using this lipo battery 2S. And you can see on the transmitter here, on top you see the transmitter volt 5.3, and under you see the receiver volt 7.6. So this receiver is transferring the volt of power, and the power is of course coming from a battery, lipo battery. So when I'm using this receiver and transmitter, I can check the volt of the lipo battery. I don't have a lipo alarm on this battery, but when driving I can just take care to see the volt there on the receiver. It should not drop below, well, about 6.5 maybe, not under 6.5, because then the volt per cell would be 3.2 volt. So that's really low. Maybe it should not go below 7 volt there. Then we have 3.5 volt for each cell on this lipo. This lipo is not fully charged now. It's just on storage volt. So now I have to install the electronics module in the car, and then I will set up the link to the throttle and the brakes and steering, and then I will set up that and also check the failsafe and everything else. I was testing the braking, and I noticed that the rear wheels was a bit stuck, so it looked like the brakes was a bit stuck, and it was this brake pad here that was not completely free. It was a bit stuck on this pin here, or what you call it. So I had to give some pressure on this screw here and this screw here, press them a little bit together, and then I see now it's more free. In the front it was always okay. So test the brakes and see that the car is totally rolling free. When you release the brakes, and check these pads that they are free and can move easy. Hello, I have now finished setting up the electronics. As you can see, I have the new servos here. They was excellent, I believe. Very good performance. And I've adjusted the steering, setting the midpoint and the end points. I also adjusted the throttle and the brakes. If you look into the carb now, you can see it's closed. And when I give max throttle here, it should just open complete up like this, not any further. And the brakes, you should test them. You roll the cars and hit the brakes. Yes, you got brakes, both on the front and on the rear. There are more brake power on the front. I'm not sure, but they say about 60-40 there should be. So that's set up on this Spektrum SR215 receiver. You can see it's a small antenna, so that should get under the body. The servo saver, it's under here. That was much too hard set up from the factory, so I released that some. It was maximum power, or what we could call it. Another thing to mention is that not all screws that goes into metal had thread lock on them, so you have to check screws, especially the ones that go into metal, that they have thread lock glue, so they're not loose after some driving. The rear brake did hang a bit. I did show that in earlier in this video. I just got these two screws here, this and this, a tiny bit closer, and that now you can see the brake pad here is loose and fine. So when I hit the brake like this, I did notice that the car didn't roll freely. But after I fixed that, now it's roll freely again. Ska vi se something more. I set up the steering now, camber and toe, so you can see that it's maybe a bit hard to see on this video because of the way the lens on this camera is twisting. But it's set up quite straight now, and I'm set the end point on the steering. So that looks okay now. As I'm not the racer, I'm not I don't use very much time on this, but now it's set up okay for me. And you can see the servos are working great, lots of power and speed there. Was it something more? Yes, the droop screws. I had to adjust the droop screws. You see them under here. That one there. And on the rear you also have droop screws here. Both sides, of course. You set them up so you lift up the car like this, and you unscrew the shock here. And the droop screw should be set such like you have to compress the shock a little bit to get it to mount it again, to get the screw in. Just search the YouTube for setup droop on RC cars. One point of that is when you set up the droop correctly, you would more unlikely break these shock rod ends. So that was a good thing. Just watching this list to see if I've forgotten something. No. And then we have failsafe, yes. You have the electronic failsafe. That is when the receiver loses the contact with the transmitter. Then you want the receiver to pull off the throttle, and I also like it to use a little bit brake. So that you can set up on the Spektrum and the Spektrum SR. I can give you a link to that. So if you now look at the carb here, see now it's closed. Now I have maximum throttle, so now it's open. And if I just now turn off the transmitter, it should close and the brake should turn on. That closed, and if you saw it, the brakes are now on. So that's how we want it. But that's the electronic failsafe. If you got a problem with the battery or something, if this disconnect or something, there's no point, or the electronic failsafe will not work, so you have to also have a mechanic failsafe. And that just this rubber band you can see here. This one. So I changed this set screw with an ordinary screw here, and just have this rubber band between the carb and this set screw. So if the power is on, my throttle is on maximum now, and I unplug the battery, this rubber band should pull the throttle to idle again. Let's see if that works. Yes, did you see that? So I had throttle on maximum and I unplugged the battery, and the rubber band did close the carb. I can show you this, of course, like this. So full throttle now. I dropped this servo horn like it would happen if the battery did disconnect. And this is what should happen then. You see the carb close. So this rubber band is closing. You have to, when using this, you should, before you drive, you should check that this rubber band is still function correctly and not wear out. Change the rubber band sometimes. This tip I got from another YouTuber. I shall give you a link to that too. So this is all finished. There were some small things, like when I mounted the servos, I had to file off a bit of this servo mount plate to get them inside. Also down here, the receiver box was touching the chassis here, or this side guard, so I had to file off a little bit of the receiver box to get it to sit down. So there are some small things that could be optimized, and as I said before, one thing to optimize would be to give a bit more support to this front tower. It's okay strong, but if you had some sort of support here that could just when you hit something here, you could bend this or rip out the screws from this plastic gear case. So maybe they could use something mount on these two screws here and just go up and mount to this tower here. Something here maybe. Maybe I can make something later, but I don't believe I'm going to do that before I drive. If I see that this is a problem and I crash land and this is bending or the screws are ripping out of this gear case, I'm maybe going to spend some time to find a solution here. Make something custom metal stuff to mount here, and with a stick up here and screw it onto this. You can just drill a hole in this tower here. But that also something that HoBao could maybe give as a possible upgrade option part. The rear tower look a bit more stiff and supported, but there could also be something there. Yes, so that's all. So the next video gonna be when we are breaking in this car, I believe. I feel I'm done all I have to do now with the electronics. So will be exciting to see how the engine is working. I've not studied the clutch or checked anything here, so I hope everything is set up okay. Alright, that is all for now. And now I just have to wait for good weather, and so I can break in this engine. See you later. Bye.